Hello and welcome back to Economics. Today we're going to pick up where we left off last time, and we're going to talk about the other side of the market. If you'll recall, in the last session we talked about the buyer side of the market. This time we're going to talk about the seller side of the market. And remember that we want to keep the two separate. We want to characterize the behavior of the buyer, which we characterized and referred to as demand. Now we want to characterize the seller in the market. And again, we need to keep the two separate. We need to keep their thinking separate in our mind so that we can represent them appropriately. And remember, we are characterizing their behavior, and we're confining it primarily only to changes in price. So let's start off by talking about what is supply. Supply is how much producers are willing and able to offer for sale per period at each possible price, other things constant. Now, this definition should remind you a lot of the last one because there's much in common between the two. Specifically, in the last one we talked about willing and able, so we're only looking at people who are capable of producing the product and are willing to produce the product. We're talking about a specific period, this period only, and again, as we'll see in a second, it's important to hold ourselves to that period because behavior can change as we go through time. And other things constant refers to exactly what we saw on the buyer side, and that is that there are non-price determinants. There are things other than price that affect this behavior. We are right now, however, confining ourselves to price and price only. And now we see that the behavior is exactly the opposite of what we saw on the demand side. Now the quantity supplied and price are directly related. Before they were inversely related, now they're directly related. Directly related is a mathematical relationship, which means as one goes up, the other one goes up. So what we see from the seller is that the seller is encouraged by a higher price and discouraged by a lower price. They want a higher reward or more profit because they'll be able to cover higher marginal cost, increasing opportunity cost, increasing resource prices, and so forth. And so once again, we can create a schedule, a supply schedule, which is based on various different possible prices and various different quantities supplied. And then from that, we could extract a curve, which is nothing more than the plotting of those various different prices and quantities supplied. We would expect this time to see an upward slope due to the law of supply. So we're going to have a curve that's going to go the opposite direction of the way we had last time. And here we're back to our pizza market again. And so now we offer the same opportunities to the supplier of the pizza that we offered to the buyer of the pizza. And we say, how many pizzas would you produce at $15 each? And they say 28 million. How many would you produce at $12 each? And they say 24 million. $9 each, and they say 20 million. $6 each, 16 million. $3 each, 12 million. And so you see that their behavior is that they like the higher prices and they dislike the lower prices. You see on the left the schedule, that's nothing more than just the prices and the quantity supplied. And then if we plot those points, you see on the right the actual plotting of those points. And you'll notice that now the curve goes upward and to the right. It goes from lower left to upper right, or it's upward sloping, which is just another way of saying the relationship is direct. The higher price encourages the supplier. Now, same terminology as before. Supply represents the entire relationship, and that's why we call that a supply curve or a supply schedule, whereas quantity supplied is simply a single point, a particular price, a point on the supply curve. If we move along the supply curve, we say we have a change in quantity supplied. If we move the entire supply curve, we say we have a change in supply. And again, same as before, we're looking at the market supply. We're looking at what all of the producers together will produce, but you could do the same thing for individual suppliers. So you could talk about what will the one place down the street supply in the way of pizzas based on various different prices. Now, just as was the case with demand, there are some other things that are important. And these are all things that will change the entire relationship. And you see the list of them here, but really they all boil down to one thing, and that is what is the underlying cost of the resources to produce the product. All of them basically come down to the same thing. First up, technology. Technology is employed because it lowers production cost. We either get more output from the same resources or we get the same level of output with less resources. It has the advantage of increasing supply or shifting it to the right. So here we see we've introduced some sort of new technology. We might have some sort of an oven which allows us to use less fuel in order to cook the pizzas. And so we see that we move from the darker colored S to the lighter colored S prime, which means we've had an increase in supply at a price of $12. Instead of producing 24 million, we're now in a position to produce 28 million. And that's because the price of producing each one of them is lower than it was before. So we've had an increase in quantity supplied. Same thing would work in the other direction. Wouldn't work for technology, but if we had an increase in cost, it would go in the opposite direction. The price of resources employed in production will also change the entire supply curve. If we have a decrease in production cost, then it's going to do exactly what we've represented before. On the other hand, if we had an increase in production cost, it would shift it in the opposite direction. So if we had an increase in the cost of the people that we employed, or an increase in the cost of the flour that we used, or increase in cost in cheese, then it would actually shift the curve in the opposite direction. It would shift it to the left, and it would mean that at the same price we would produce lower quantities. The price of alternative goods, and here we actually have two choices here. That would be the resources, the difference that resources could be used for, the alternative uses for the resources, but also the alternative uses for the goods that we're actually using. And so as a result, they would shift or change the entire structure of the relationship one way or the other, depending on which way the alternative use went. Similar to what we saw with the purchasers, the producers also make predictions about the future. And so if they anticipate higher prices in the future, they will increase their current supply, anticipating that increase. And the proviso here is only if it's a storable good. That is, we would only increase our production if we believed that we'd be able to store it and save it over to the future. And as we saw before, changes in the number of producers. As we add producers, it will increase supply or shift it to the right. As we reduce producers, or as producers go out of business, it would decrease supply or shift it to the left. And remember, this is the entire supply curve. It's the production at each and every price level. So in summary, similar to what we saw last time, only the behavior is exactly the opposite of what we saw last time. Again, the terminology is supply and changes in quantity supplied, depending on whether we're talking about price or something else. If we're talking about the entire relationship, then it's supply. So if we're talking about some of the other non-price determinants, we're talking about a change in supply. If we're talking about movement along that relationship from one point to the other, which would only happen if we had a change in price, then we're talking about a change in quantity supplied. We did observe that producers have exactly the opposite behavior of what the purchasers did. That is, that they enjoy higher prices and dislike lower prices, or are encouraged by higher prices and discouraged by lower prices. Next time we're going to put the two parts together and see what happens when we put them together in a market, and under what circumstances might a market not find itself satisfied, and what would be the pressures within the market to reach a point that is satisfactory to both the buyers and the sellers, and what sorts of pressures are brought to bear on the market to get it to that point. See you all next time.